One of the main reasons we do these office hours with me is I've been with Rise now for, it's crazy to even think of, 21 years. So I've seen everything under the sun that people have asked for. How do I do this? Hey, I've got this idea. So one of the great things about doing this is any questions that you have, hopefully, I like to be confident enough that I'll be able to get it answered. So let me share my screen because I want to go over an example here that I had recently two schools ask me for roundabout the same thing. And it was one of those great examples to be able to show people how to do these specific features that I think a lot of people aren't using as much as they could be. So between these two schools, they had the same need. They wanted to use one presentation. They had a lot of content they wanted to show on the screen, and they had two important requirements. First one was some of it needed to be there all the time, and other stuff needed to be scheduled to show up only at specific times. And then one of the other schools had a requirement where they wanted an indicator that said, hey, look over here when this is scheduled to play. So we talked about a lot of different stuff and we came up with some ways that work perfect for them. And I wanted to show everybody how to do that, mainly to show you how to add components and how to schedule content in your presentations. So I've already done some manipulating of this presentation already. This is the zone playlist 1x2 wave. Main thing I did was I added this text item up here, and down here I already added an embedded presentation. For the one example that I worked with, they wanted to have an announcement up at the top that would show at specific times of the day, and at the bottom they wanted to be able to have a menu that was constantly showing their menu because this was going to be working in a cafe at the school. So let's schedule some content. First thing I'm going to do is over here on the left, this welcome back students. I don't need this text because I want to put something else there. So I'm just going to hide it. And to hide it, I go to where it says text right here, click on those three dots and choose to hide. And it disappears. Next thing, I want a playlist to be right here that I can manipulate and add stuff to. This is where I'm going to use a component. So I'm going to click add new component. And as soon as I do that, the component I want to add is a playlist because I'm going to want different things in it. So I'll select playlist. And notice this adds a playlist that I can move and put wherever I want. So I'm going to make it right here. And I'm going to make it this big. Perfect. Goes right there. Now in this playlist, I'm going to click add. And first thing, just going to add some text. And I want this text to say, be sure to watch Professor Price's TED Talk at 2 p.m. Now, this be sure to watch Professor Price's TED Talk at 2 p.m. We want this showing all the time except between 2 and 3 p.m. when the TED Talk is going. So to do that, I'm going to schedule when I want it to play. So I'll click on where it says 10 seconds right here, or 10S, which stands for 10 seconds. There's a timeline option right here. Turn that off. Click on that timeline, and now I can change it to weekly, monthly, yearly, have it start on a specific day, end in a specific day. But for me right here, I just want to uncheck all day and say, okay, you start at 3 p.m. and you go until 2 p.m. So now it's going to start at 3 and stop at 2 p.m. the next day. These screens probably won't be online late at night, but we're just going to leave it like that. Perfect. We've got that. Next thing that we have to add is let's add another text item by clicking add, selecting text. And for this one says, check out Professor Price's TED Talk in the top left. Now, since that TED Talk is only going to be shown between 2 and 3, we do the exact opposite for this one. Instead of being from 3 to 2, this one goes from 2 to 3. So the two are never overlapping each other and they're never showing at the same time. It's just going to be one that's showing outside of the 2 to 3 and then the other one that's showing between the 2 to 3.
So, Rob, with this, you have scheduled the individual components to show at different times, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Wow, I didn't even know that was a thing. That's very cool. So you can show specific content on the presentation at certain times. That's pretty granular scheduling, and you can change it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Wow.
and that's why I like to make sure that people know about it because it's super duper helpful when you've got a presentation like this one where you want this bottom section to show all the time. Maybe you might have an RSS feed or a calendar or some sort of information that you want on the screen all the time. But then there's other content that you only want showing at select times. So for this, keep watching this space. This is another one that I've set for outside of 2 to 3. But this one here, I'm going to set for 2 to 3 p.m. So now 2 2, 3, 0 p.m. And then I'm just going to publish this. Now, what effectively happens is this is what the presentation looks like. This is what the presentation looks like all outside of 2 to 3 p.m. But during 2 to 3 p.m., it stops showing check out Professor's TED Talk at 2 p.m., changes over to check out Professor Price's TED Talk at in the top left, and this changes to that video that's going on in the top left. So I wanted to show this to show you that even if you don't need to use a schedule and just schedule specific presentations to show at specific times, that's one option, and that's a great option that a lot of people take advantage of. But with these zoned presentations, the zoned playlist presentations, you can also schedule stuff inside of the playlist themselves. So all of your scheduling can be done inside of the presentation completely.
Wow. The mind blown emoji, that's my life right now. Rob, is this only on the zoned playlist templates? If I had any other templates and I wanted to schedule the text to change like at certain times, can I have that text component changed based on the schedule, or is it only the zone templates that do this?
The zone templates are the ones where it's used the most, but technically it'll work anywhere. Any components that you add to a presentation, you'll be able to schedule when you want them to show. I just find it always easier to show it off when using the playlist component or presentations that have playlist components in them.
And then, Rob, what other use cases have you heard about that people are using this kind of workaround or this solution?
With this one, a lot of people that want to have one presentation, and I'll just go click add. And I'm going to look for a playlist. Oop, I think I know how to spell it. But some people might even have the, hey, you know what? We don't want to manage a bunch of different presentations. I just want to manage one presentation, and inside of that, have all the scheduling that I want to do. Inside this one, you could add any of these different items and they will show full screen, and then you could schedule them to show at different times. So say you want a YouTube video full screen from 2 to 3, and then you want streaming video showing from 4 to 5, and then you want a Power BI report from X to X. You'd be able to do that in this to show full screen different things at different times of the day instead of managing several different presentations in a schedule, each of them showing that. But yeah, it's limitless.
Very cool.
All right. Next thing I'd like to show off, because I talk about this a lot, and people ask, what does it actually look like for the user? I wanted to actually show you what it's going to look like for the teacher user. So for K-12 users who have an unlimited license or an enterprise license, most of them have unlimited license for this specific functionality. Sometimes there will be situations where in your school, we'll use the example of a high school. Say you're a high school and you've got a grade 8 teacher, a grade 9 teacher, a grade 10 teacher. You don't want those teachers when they log in to be able to see all the other content that you might have designed, to see all your displays, to see all your schedules, because they might accidentally add to the wrong one or maybe accidentally update somebody else's presentation. So what you do for that user is you create them with the role of teacher and nothing else. And you'll notice that when I go to select other things, the teacher role disappears, but when I go select teacher, only the teacher role is the only one they can have. That's because the teacher role is really specific. It allows this user, when they log in, everybody's logging in to the same organization, the same high school, right? But they're only seeing presentations that they've created, and they can only add those presentations to schedules that they've been assigned. That means they can't accidentally edit the grade 10 teacher's presentation or add it to the grade 11 teacher schedule. They can only edit their own presentations and what's been assigned to them. And when I say what's been assigned to them, I thought I created one. Nope, sorry. I'll use that one anyway. I must have deleted it. But notice here where I've got the name of my schedule, I'm going to click on those three dots and choose to assign users. And we're going to assign it to that one teacher. So we'd assign this one to the grade 9 teacher, assign the schedule called grade 10 displays to the grade 10 teacher, and so on. So I'm just going to assign that schedule. And notice now when we go back to our list of schedules, we can see that this specific one, has been assigned to this teacher role. Now I do this, and then a lot of people are like, this is awesome. I love this functionality. This is just what I need. But what does it look like for the user? So what I did was I actually logged in as that user, and I'm going to stop sharing and share that other tab, which is right here. There we are. Perfect. So this is that other user, that teacher user logged in. Notice I don't have access to displays. I don't have access to storage. I don't have access to anything except in the presentations. Notice how there's no presentations. I don't see any of the other presentations that we were editing. I can add a presentation and I can add however I want, manipulate and edit however I want. So let's go and I'll choose welcome to the team. And I can change this. I can add images and other components and whatever I want to do. So I'll just change this text to say Rob, just like that. So wonderful. Now it's always automatically saving any changes that you've made. So it automatically saved this. I'll go ahead and press publish. And it says, do you want to add it to a schedule? I don't want to add it here because I want to go over to the schedules page to show you what that schedules page looks like. Notice on the schedule, there's only one schedule that I can see. I can't see any of the other ones, so I can't edit or change or accidentally delete or add something to any of the other ones. I can only add it to the schedule that I've been assigned. And notice when I go into the schedule, I can't change the timeline. I can't change the distribution. The only thing I can do is add other presentations to it. And notice it shows me the folders. This is something that our dev team is aware of, but there's nothing in there because none of those presentations belong to me. I haven't created anything in those folders. I can only add the one that I've created, and wonderful. Now that I've added that, again, can't delete anything that doesn't belong to me and can't edit anything that doesn't belong to me. So that's how that teacher role works.
Awesome. So the teacher role is really good for when you want to have people who can only edit certain content for their displays. There's no risk of them getting in there and messing up something for the whole district or sending a classroom announcement or uploading a classroom schedule to the wrong school or anything like that. Rob?
Correct. Yep. And I just saw somebody ask, can they, as admin, can they assign a presentation to a teacher? Right now, only we can do that. So if you do have a situation where I need these creative presentations to be assigned to, and you can assign a presentation to any number of teachers, right? If you wanted to have multiple teachers managing it, we can do that from over here. Reach out to our support team. They'll be able to do that. We hope to soon make that functionality available to admin users, specifically system administrators. Right now, it's not, but that's something we can always do over here if you need it.
Okay, so Tim, I think that answers your question asking if you create a presentation as an admin, can you share it with a teacher so they're able to edit it? So if you have that use case, send us a ticket or send a message to support at risevision.com, and they'll make that happen for you.
Yep. Yeah, we get that request a lot.
Awesome. Any other like use cases for the teacher role, Rob, that you can think of that people use, maybe beyond just teacher, but 'cause people might see that and think, oh, this is just for teachers. But you can break the rules a little bit. You don't have to just be a teacher.
Yep.
Any other kind of use cases that you can think of that are really popular for that role?
Yeah, one use case we've seen for that is, again, they're not teachers, but they are people that they only want to be able to manage specific content. So they'll assign it to, say, the cafeteria staff. So the cafeteria staff is only able to maintain a schedule of the displays that are in the cafeteria type of thing. That's one way where you're not a teacher, technically you're cafeteria staff, but you're managing those presentations the exact same way. Another way we've seen a couple people do it, which is an oxymoron and made me laugh, is they're assigning students the teacher role. So those students can't accidentally delete anything that somebody else has created. They can only edit and maintain their own content. I've seen a school that had like digital signage, almost like a glee club, a digital signage club that met after school. They were using it that way. And it was a great way to use it. But yeah, those are the different ways that I've seen people use that teacher role.
Yeah. I've talked to schools that have their students managing their digital signage. I think it's great. It's a great life skill, and they also are like so proud of the content and what they are creating and the ownership of it, which I think is just so great.
Yep. Yeah. And on that exact note, I want to jump into the next thing that I like to show off. It's more recent than the teacher role, but whenever I show people this piece of functionality, they're like, this is exactly what I need. And the overwhelming amount of people who have brought it up to me was when they have students that are building the content, but they don't want those students to be able to publish it and put it out on the screen. They want a review process so a teacher or a principal or whoever can justify and say, yep, this looks correct. And then specifically the publisher, the person who's managing it, they can press the publish button, but the kids who are building it can't. And the way that we do that is we're going to change my user from a teacher to a content editor, and that's it. All this user has the ability to do is edit content. And now I'm going to go back over to my other page and go to presentations. A-do-do-do-do. And now I'm going to share that other page. It'd be nice if I could switch quickly between the two. Instead, I got to stop sharing and then start sharing again.
I'm sure
But
that
all right.
there's a way, but I don't know it either.
Yeah, I don't know what it is off the top of my head. But yeah, so now I'm set up as a content editor. Now notice now I can see all of the different presentations. I can see all of the different schedules because remember, I'm not a teacher. A teacher is that select role that can only see specific things. An editor can see everything, but an editor can only edit. So let's say this welcome to the team one. I want to change the name Rob. I want to change it back to Anna. Just like that. And I could change other stuff, the image and add other content in it, et cetera, et cetera. I've changed it back to Anna. And notice now, instead of seeing a publish button, I see send for review. And as soon as I click send for review, this pop-up comes up. And if you have multiple publishers and there's a specific one you want to send it to, you can search for that user in here. I've only got this one user set up as the content publisher. I check that user and I can include notes. I change the name to Anna. Let me know what you think. And as soon as I click send for review, this is now set to pending review. That content publisher got an email that says, hey, Rob has submitted for review the Welcome to the Team presentation. It has a link directly to the presentation. So they can come in here, and now I'm going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to jump back over to sharing my other screen. And now I can see this presentation that is pending review. And since the role I'm logged in as right now is a publisher, I see the publish button and I can publish it. But what if I don't like the changes they've done? And this is where there's a review process for a presentation that might go back and forth and back and forth. I can request changes, describe, hey, you know what, that's the wrong picture, or this is wrong, or something like that. And then I can request changes. That goes back to that content editor who edited the presentation. They get an email that says, hey, these are the requested changes. And they can go back and forth until it's finally where the publisher needs it to be. And then they can press publish. So now it's published. So teacher role, only specific presentations to assign to only specific schedules that they've been assigned. Whereas the content editor has free reign of everything, but they can never publish anything. They would only be able to edit it and then submit it to a publisher to publish it.
Yeah, so this is the content review and approval process. It's a built-in workflow where you can have your content edited or created by somebody, but it has to go and be reviewed and approved before it's actually published. So this is really great. The student use case is great, like you said, Rob, but if you aren't in a school and you have a marketing
Yeah.
coordinator or an intern that you have creating stuff, it's able to be checked by somebody and make sure it meets your brand standards and everything is correct. There's no typos, and you just have that second set of eyes before it gets approved. That's great.
Yeah, a great example of this that I worked with recently is a company where they have different locations all over the world. Most specifically, the ones that she needs to manage are over in the UK and over in America. And what she would find was people would update presentations that were showing on all displays, both UK and America, with text or verbiage that not a lot of the Americans could understand, specifically when it came to money because their stuff was in like pounds, what is it, sterling, and of course America's American dollars. So she loved that. Oh, this is perfect. Now they've got to submit it to her so she can say it needs to show both sterling and US dollars for stuff. It made her life a whole lot easier. So she wasn't even part of a school. She was part of an industry outside of education, and she was able to use that content editor publisher process to make her life easier. Because
Hmm.
that's what it's all about, making your life easier.
Exactly. That's everything we want to do. We want to make it easier for you. We have a couple of questions. I'm just wondering if maybe we should answer them now before we get into
Sure.
the next thing.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Tim says, love the new Canva integration, but are we able to hide pages in Canva? I don't 100% know what that means, but maybe Rob, do you know what that means?
I do know what it means. I believe the answer is no, but that's part of Canva's. That's something we're hoping improves in Canva's API. The new Canva integration came because Canva introduced a version of their API, which could do a lot more than it could do before. The API, in case you're not familiar with that, is it's basically how two programs talk to each other. So their new API introduced a lot of stuff. There were a couple of hiccups out of the gate that I'm sure anybody who uses Canva in here religiously noticed, like stuff wasn't updating as it should, as quick as they expected it to, et cetera, et cetera. All that's been fixed, but the hope is that is something that could be added in the future. Similar to Google Slides, I believe Google Slides will not show hidden slides. Hopefully, the same thing can be applied to Canva, where their API will just say, hey, don't show these specific slides. But sorry, that's a very long-winded answer of saying I don't believe that's possible. We can definitely test it, but yeah, right now I don't believe it's possible.
Right. But it's not a limitation of Rise Vision. It's a limitation of Canva and
Their
what they
API.
allow us to do with their integration.
This is a brand new API. I say brand new. It came out in December, I think, of last year, so relatively new. But there's lots of stuff that they're improving in it, fixing in it, type of thing. So hopefully, yeah, this will be something that they fix in it.
Yeah, okay. Another question is from Wendy. She has two presentations which have the words blacked out. So one of them is the joke of the day. On the joke of the day, the word day is blacked out. And then on the
Hmm.
word search, the words you're searching for on the right are blacked out. Any ideas why that is happening?
Yeah.
I'm wondering maybe if it's some brand settings, maybe the
That's
color
exactly what I
overrides
think it
or
is. I'll go to the joke of the day here. So notice with mine, there's this green color that it's using as part of my brand settings. So if I go into here and I go to colors, and there's that green color right there. If I set this to be, I always forget, I think it's either 250 or 255. Oh no, that's not a good version. If I set it to be black, and I can never remember. Is it zeros? Yeah. That's just going to black for me. But I believe that's what the issue is. It's the RGB code that's been set up in the brand settings. It's the color that's been set up in there. If it isn't that, the other common reason that I've seen for that to happen is if there's a firewall over there, and there very likely is a firewall, and then some sort of contents filtering, that content filtering might be blocking that specific functionality, specifically the changing of colors, RGB or hex code colors, might be blocking it on the content filtering side. The firewall is allowing it through, the content filtering is blocking it, usually from the browser and on the actual machines. Ask the IT team, hey, can you ensure that the content filtering is allowing everything to come through to my machine when I got to edit these presentations? That's where I've seen that get fixed before. I've seen that also occur when, let's say, you're at home and the joke comes up fine when you're at home, but you come to work and the joke section stays blank. It's just all has to do with content filtering. Something is blocking that specific functionality from occurring. And if that doesn't fix it, yes, shoot an email over to the support guys, but I have a sneaking suspicion that's what it is.
Okay, Wendy. A couple of options could be the brand settings, could be the firewall blocking it. Definitely, you can talk to your IT or you can just send our support team a message and they can troubleshoot it a little bit more in depth because she says it hasn't
Yeah.
always been like that.
Yeah, when I've seen that in the past, that sounds there was and of course, hey, there's constantly different content filtering and firewall changes that are happening all the time. A change got put in, somebody saw something get flagged. Oh, you know what? Just block it. And it was flagged because it was that functionality that you might have changed, the brand settings or something like that. And that's when it got flagged and cut off.
Yeah, it happens. All right. Okay, and then Rob, we do have the other question that we had talked about before offline.
Like,
Do you want to go through that one now or do you want to wait?
no, yeah, let's definitely go through that now because other people might be having the same issue.
Okay, so this one is from Kevin. So when adding things to schedules, I know I can add multiple presentations in bulk. Sometimes those multiple presentations, I need to have all the same transition, duration on screen, dates to run, et cetera, et cetera. Is there a way to edit those features in bulk once so those presentations, so they're all in the same schedule, editing all of those settings all at once?
Yeah, the answer to that is no. Right now, there's not. That's a great idea, though. But right now, all you can do is click Add Playlist Item, select Presentation, and we'll add these four. And it will add these four with the default transition, which is none, the default duration, which if it's like an image or just a piece of text is 10 seconds. And if it's got something that's got a video or one of our animations set to play until done. So that is definitely something that we can request from the UX team over here. But in that question, I kind of got the impression that, and maybe I was wrong in just how I heard it, where he wanted only specific things on the screen at specific times. What I would suggest, depending on what the content is, what I would suggest instead would be to use the calendar integration. And what I mean by that is if I go to add presentation and I do a search for calendar, you can use this today one. This is one that I like, at least for this specific example. And what's cool about this one is you can set up a calendar. And I always tell people don't use your own Outlook or Google Calendar. Create a separate calendar for events or lunch or whatever it is, that you're going to be using for this. Create a separate calendar. Add that calendar in here. And one thing that we've just introduced is if you have a calendar, this one doesn't have, it's a very simple calendar, but if you've got an Outlook calendar that uses multiple, I think it's called rooms. I can never remember what it's referred to in the Microsoft calendars. But basically, you can add several different calendars and all of them will show inside of this one calendar presentation. That's something we just came out with, if is something that would work in this situation. But then what you do with this one, today, it's this person is coming into the office. Tomorrow, this person's coming in. The next day, this person's coming into the office. And if there's two people coming into the office on the same day, it will show for April 22nd, it'll show both those things that are happening on April 22nd. You'd see one, and then you see the next one. Then it would go to the 23rd, show that one thing. And then what if on the 24th there were four things? It would show the first, then the second, then the third, then the fourth. This is the way that I would make it easier on yourself. All you need to do is manage that calendar, but the calendar in the presentation takes care of itself.
The question that Kevin dropped in the Q&A was simplified. I'm just going to pull up his email. Kevin, if you're here and Rob has answered your question, let us know if you need more detail. But it sounds like doing a calendar is going to be the workaround for the easy way to have multiple things show up.
If all that information can be, all the information you got to get across can be put in the description, title and description of that calendar item, I find that's always the best way to do it. We've seen people that are rooms that are being booked, so they'll have a small display outside of rooms that are saying this is booked at this time by these people, this is booked at this time by these people, type of thing. Schools using lunch menus, schools using day blocks, and here's what to remember for day A, here's what to remember for day B, et cetera, et cetera. They can change it on the fly on the calendar, and then the Rise side just takes care of itself, updating automatically from the calendar. All the people I've seen work with that, they say it's just a lot easier than having to go into the schedule, change a specific element of the presentation or that presentation in the schedule timeline. It's just easier to do with a calendar.
Yeah. So, Rob, I'm just looking back at his email, and so we're talking about special guests coming and alumni coming to the campus. So sometimes we have multiple groups or individuals for the same event or date. What's the when all the new students come to campus, whatever that day's called. And maybe we have a multiple different presentations going on. Maybe we're welcoming back different alumni. Somebody super cool is going to be there. If you wanted to have a little bit more information beyond the calendar, like if you wanted to have a picture or so and so is going to be here and we want a picture of them, what would be the easiest way to do that? Because yeah, Kevin just said in the chat, no, they need to be separate pieces of content. So I'm assuming the calendar won't work for that. We need to show three upcoming speakers and showcase four alumni. What would be the best way to do that, you think?
That's where I would use something like this. So this one presentation could work for that. But let's say you're like, you know what, the templates are great, but I want a total blank canvas and I want to be able to design this myself because I want to build a background for it and I want them to be exact sizes, et cetera, et cetera. You could go to add presentation and just search for the word blank. And you'll notice that one of the options that comes up is this blank guy right here. Don't use this blank landscape one. This is our older legacy editor that still some people are using. And the people that are using it, they build it entirely in HTML. So if you're an HTML guru, that's perfect for you. I wouldn't use it because I don't have the first idea what to do in HTML. So just use this blank one here. And what's cool about the blank guy is it's entirely blank. So what if you're like, I want some images and I'll select from storage. And again, I'm just going as an example here. Where are some pictures? And I've got funny pictures. All right, we'll use this one. And this could be a folder of, say you've got 10 different alumni or something, that you want it just to rotate through these pictures. And then maybe every now and then you want to add new pictures to this, remove pictures from this, and you only want it going from this time to this time type of thing. So now we've got this one. This is great. We'll just add this one up here. And then the exact same way we did it before. Sorry, no, I'm getting ahead of myself here. If you wanted to schedule when you wanted that content to show, you'd actually have to do it with a playlist. So let me add a playlist. And inside that playlist, add a folder of images and videos. Go to select from storage. Go into pictures. Go into funny pictures. So I'll have this up here, and you can make that whatever size you wanted to, right? Because maybe you've got a background image that you want to use. So you can make it exactly for that size. And this is where you can say, okay, this only shows at these times of the day. It only shows on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It starts this day, ends this day. You can get really specific with where it's showing right there. And then the real part, I think that would probably be more useful for what you're looking to do is, let's say you could add a playlist down here that you needed to be, say, a calendar, for example. And this needs to say on there 24/7 to be able to say, hey, today is this, tomorrow is this. You could click add. You could add a calendar here too, but you can add a presentation. And I'm going to use a presentation and say calendar, just like that. And I'm going to leave this one to play all the time. So now that calendar shows down there. And then I'm sure you get the idea. You can basically add a playlist all over the place and schedule the content that you add in there to show at those different times whenever you wanted it showing. It's not as easy as what you had mentioned in the email, where it'd be nice to be able to add a bunch of stuff to a schedule and set the transition and the maybe the times that it would show in there. But if you wanted to do it all inside of one presentation instead of messing with the schedule and multiple presentations, this is the way that I would suggest to do it.
I told Kevin to send you an email after and maybe you can find
Yeah,
a solution because it sounds like there's some nuance of what they're looking to do.
Yeah, that's what I was going to suggest as well. Just reach out to me and we can back and forth figure out the best thing. And if it's something that we currently can't do, this is one thing I always like to remind people of as well. If it's something that we can't do, that's the feedback that we want to get to our team over here, our dev team and our UX team, that, hey, I can't promise it'll be added, but I always like to have the exact situation that someone has that they want to build something. Because just saying, hey, they want to be able to add a whole bunch of different things for different times, the first, I don't know how many of you have worked with developers, but the first question is always, what's the use case? They want the exact scenario of how that works, and that's what we can figure out through an email together.
Yeah, yes. What's the use case?
Like Tim's question, here's this exact scenario. How do I do this? That's when me and the person can hop on a call and go over it back and forth to figure out the best fit.
Yeah. Tim says, I would like to use the blank template more, but would like entrance and exit transitions.
Oh,
Mm.
okay.
We'll let the UX team know about that. All right,
Yeah.
Rob, do you want to demo the new feature I was teasing at the beginning?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. So, yeah, this new functionality that we have is we can do screen sharing, and I'm not sure if people have used screen sharing. We've got two modes for screen sharing, one called moderator, where you can have a group of people sharing to a screen, another one called standard, where it's a one-on-one. This new functionality that we introduced is the ability to share to all the screens in your organization that support it. And when I say that support it, unfortunately, the Apple TV does not support screen sharing, which is a bummer because it's one of the four that I have on my screen right here. But everything else you can share all at the same time too.
Multi-display screen sharing, right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
Multi-display screen sharing.
This has been a popular request. When we introduced screen sharing, people were like, okay, but can I share to multiple?
Yeah.
Now we have it. You can screen share to multiple displays instead of just the one. So, yeah, Rob, take it away. Show us
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And it works great. So what you'll do is first thing to make sure of is go to your displays. And you can do it from just checking right here. I won't do it right here because I've got it already set up on these guys, but I'll use a Raspberry. Make sure that you go over to screen sharing and screen sharing is turned on. It's hard to see on the screens behind me, but you can see it in the screenshot here down in the bottom corner. It says risevision.com/join and a code that's listed right there. If I didn't want it to show that code, I could just turn off, show the session code on screen. But it's on every one of my screens, with the exception of the Apple TV. It's on every one of my screens, and all of them are a different code. So you could, for each one of those screens, you could have an individual screen sharing session on them if you wanted to, or you can do a multi-share to all of them that I'm going to do right now. To do that, we just go over to screen share. And our screen share window, if you've looked at this before, we've made some significant changes on this page as well, mainly just to make it a lot easier. All of the displays that currently have screen sharing set up are all listed in here. If there are any that were, say, offline, say the machine was offline, it would be gray and you wouldn't be able to share to it. Notice my Avacore. I just noticed my Avacore is offline, so I can't check that one because it's offline. But for all my other guys, my Airtame, my Amazon, my Apple shouldn't even show up in here. That's something we brought up to our dev team. So I've got the four right here. So I want to share to those four. I will hit start sharing. And so if it's a moderated session where you want other people to join it, you could click. allow others to join, and then other people can go to risevision.com/join, type in that code, and they would all be populated in here. But for my example right here, I'm just going to share my calendar. So notice once I set that to share, if we look at all the screens behind me, taking their time for some reason. I was testing this out all this morning for some reason. They're not moving over as quick as they should be. I'm not sure why those aren't going over, but it was working. I apologize. It was working great this morning. I think my Wi-Fi might have dropped off, and that's a little bit of a bummer. But yeah, sorry. What it would do is it would share to all those screens. Let me see. I'm going to do this again because I need to have this be impressive. That was my signed stick. Which one was it? My signed stick, my Chrome OS, my Raspberry, and who's the other guy there? My Airtame. So bear with me. This is another thing, and don't worry, it wasn't smoke and mirrors. I wanted to show everybody this functionality. This bulk actions bar that's down here on the bottom, when you select multiple machines, there's a whole bunch of different options that you can do that are listed in here. The one that I want to do is a remote command. I want to restart the Rise player on all these guys. It sends that command. You should see on all my machines behind me that it's closing the player and restarting it back up again. And the reason I did that is because now screen sharing better work. So I want to share to my Airtame, Signage Stick, the Chrome OS, and the Raspberry Pi. Start sharing. Everybody's back up and running. Oh, except my signage stick. My signage stick is very troublesome. Share my calendar. There. So now, at least those two are up. That one's up. And for some reason, my signage stick, I think it's got to be my Wi-Fi because usually that signage stick can come up pretty fast. But I'll move out of the way. You can see behind me that it's sharing to all those screens at one time. And I could close this and move this and do all sorts of stuff here. And you'll notice that it changes with whatever I'm doing all on the screens at one time. And then when I'm done sharing, I could end session for all. And then it stops. All of them go back to showing the presentation that they were showing before, except my signage stick because I think it's decided that it doesn't want to work today.
Perfect.
But yeah,
So now you can share. So if you were in a classroom and the classroom had an IFP up at the front and I don't know, maybe a couple other displays, you could share to any of those in the classroom. Or if you were in a conference center that had multiple displays, you can share to all of those ones.
so
Jill has a question. So in order to screen share, each device has to have a signage stick. So each of your displays has to have Rise Vision.
yeah, all of that screen sharing functionality is done entirely through the Rise Player application itself. So the Rise Player needs to be on and most importantly needs to be running. So notice with my Avocor display here how it shows us offline. That means that the screen might be on, but the Rise Player is not running. The Rise Player needs to be running. That's how you're showing presentations. It's going to be the Rise Players running on all of them.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be the signage stick. It could be a Raspberry Pi. It could be the Rise Vision media player, but you have to have a media player that's able to get that signal, the screen sharing information, and then display it.
Yeah, my signage stick was taking its time. So now it's sharing to four of them, but yeah, you can share to as many as you need to. I just
Yeah.
wanted to drive it home. The signage stick does work. It looked like mine was just having a little bit of a hiccup.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So Jill, you said your classrooms have smart boards. They would have to have Rise Vision installed. Yeah, so it would be the Rise player.
I was going to say on those smart boards, you can install it on smart boards in a couple of different ways. If they're Android, like in the smart boards, which the overwhelming majority are, you go to the Chrome store or the Google Play store and you'll see the Rise player there. Just install that Rise player on that machine and then it'll begin acting as a Rise display. You can show content on it. And if it doesn't have the Google Play Store, you can still install the Rise Player on it using a USB key that's commonly referred to as side loading or installing via an APK. You could install it that way as well, so you'd be able to get the Rise Player running on that machine.
Okay. All right. We do have a couple more questions about the screen sharing. So Tim asked, I'm assuming that you're asking about screen sharing. How about when different people or profiles are used? Is activation needed for each profile?
When you say profile, I'm hoping, and correct me if I'm wrong, you mean the profile like on the machine, like the device that is showing the Rise Player?
So are
Oh,
you thinking like if you have a smart board and then Jane logs in and is using the smart board and then she logs off and then John logs in and is using the smart board? Yes. Okay. How does that work
Yeah.
then, Rob?
As long as when you install, you make that application available to everybody. And man, it's a hard one. So if it's available to everybody, everybody would be able to start it up. But say Jen logs in and Jen closes the Rise player, then you're not going to be able to screen share because they've closed the application. But as long as that application is available to all users who are logging into it, let's say you want to start screen sharing to it, you just start up the Rise player and you'll be able to start sharing to it. As long as each user can start the Rise player on that board, they'll be able to screen share to that board. As long as the player is running, that's the most important thing it needs.
Okay. Yeah, Tim, if you want to discuss this further, you can send Rob an email afterwards and you guys can chit chat and he can walk you through anything else. All right, two-part question from Larry. Can you save a schedules playlist in order to replace another playlist that you no longer want to use instead of recreating the playlist from scratch? The way I interpret this is can you duplicate a playlist
Like in
and
a
then,
schedule type of thing?
yeah, yeah, can you save a schedules playlist to replace? What's the
The way
use
that I'm
case?
sorry.
Use case
No,
here, Larry.
the way that I'm thinking of it is, and this is a long answer, so forgive me. I know we're short on time. Organization that I was working with, they want to be able to keep a copy of all schedules and presentations that they might use in the future. They don't want any changes to those schedules. So they have 40 items, 40 presentations in a schedule. They were like, I want to be able to keep this somewhere, not in my main parent company in case I want to use it for the future. What you can do is you can create a sub company. And let me back up. The reason they wanted to do it this way was because they didn't want it in the parent. They wanted it to exist in a different company that they could bring back over if they needed to. So I recommended create a sub company called Saved Content or Saved Presentations and Schedules. Go to the schedule and let me jump over to that sub company and I'll show you there's nothing in it. So go over to the sub company. We've got one called Testing Schedule. I'm going to delete this one. Ba, 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 ba. In the sub company of alpha testing, there's no schedules in it. And what I mentioned to do, and this worked for them, was check the schedules that you want to save, go to the three dots, copy to sub company. You got to get a company, it says your company ID. Your company ID is always in your URL. So afterrisevision.com, wherever you see CID equals, that long set of digits right there, that's your company ID. And the reason this worked well was because when you copy a schedule, it copies over not only the way everything in that schedule is set up, but all of the presentations in that schedule. So now if we go over here, I'll refresh this. We see that schedule. It's got all the items in there. All mine are playing until done, but all of the timing and the schedule setup that you had set up would all be in here. And all of those presentations were also copied over. So now you could delete all those presentations and that schedule in the parent organization, and they would always be there available if you had to copy them back over again from that sub company.
Oh, all right, Larry. So he says they have displays in multiple schools and may want to have a summer playlist ready to go. So I think that would probably work. Larry, if you have more questions about how to do that, send Rob an email.
There's another way to do that as well. I just want to make sure that you have the correct licensing all set up. So yeah, shoot me an email, Larry, and I'll be able to either record a video for you or we can hop on a call together and go over setting up exactly that. Because there's two ways to do it that way, or there's another way that we commonly refer to as like the district messaging way of doing it.
All right, then, Rob, quick answer. In schedule view, is there a way to modify the layout elements? Thinking along the lines of expanding the playlist on the right in order to more easily read the list of presentations as well as the timeline elements.
That's something I know that the UX team has, we've brought up to them that had been discussed with them. I can't promise that it's on the roadmap. I just know that feedback has been brought to them. So short answer is no right now, but it has been mentioned to the UX team that hopefully it could be something that's added in the future.
Okay, perfect. I think that helped with Larry's two-part questions. Again, if you have any questions, please send us an email. You can always email support. They get back to you within 1 business hour and can help troubleshoot. But if you have something like really specific, Rob and Kate are our customer success managers, and they love helping and sending videos and making sure that it's easier because that's our ultimate goal is to just make communication as easy as possible.
I said I'm always super long in my answers, so that's
Mm,
sometimes a good thing, but usually not.
yeah. Yeah, you just listen to Rob's videos on 1.5, 2 times speed.
Yeah, I
All
do.
right. Rob, thank you so much for being here, being our expert. We're going to do this again probably over the summer. And again, we do have the new user training every Thursday. And the support team, they go over all of the basics. So that's also a great session to be part of.